Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to episode 11. The good, the bad, the ugly. We got me, was it B?
Shelley.
And I'm Fizz.
And I'm Ched.
Isaiah-Raymond.
And they're our special guests for this evening. And they're just going to explain who they are, where they come from, and where they see themselves for the next couple of years. So stay tuned. So,
for you that don't know, sorry to cut you off there, man. You said for you that don't know, that's my mother and that is my cousin. Yeah, so this is family. So I know a bit more than these lot would, but I just bring the insight in it.
We're getting a little insight. We're gonna find out more to know about these people. We're just gonna chill, ask these questions, get to know, see how their life's like, and yeah, stay tuned.
And also, we want to big up our sponsors, tax free, you know.
Big up tax free.
Promo codes it's in the bio.
Big
also,
STAX.
Wings and Shrinks and Big STAX. Also blessing us.
Serious joints.
So, first of all,
I'd just like to know who's going to go first. Isaiah?
Going first?
Sure.
So, just a little background drop of
How old are you?
who you are.
I am 48 years old now.
Jeez.
Very good.
Now you know.
Yeah. He's lying. You're not that old.
I'm 48 years old. I'm going to be 50 in 2 years' time.
Jesus.
Congratulations, yeah.
Thank you. I give God thanks and praise for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's lit. That's lit.
Fizz just said tonight, yeah, we're going to introduce my uncle, but that he was cousin. You're a gospel singer. I went on went on your profile through Fizz's Instagram because it's locked. Yeah, you got a lot going on. One of Mobos. How long was this gospel singing journey started?
Basically, like the way it started for me, I mean, I grew up in church. We grew up in church. Our grandmother was a pastor, our uncle was a bishop, and whatever. But I left church when I was younger. I think with a lot of us, we grew up in church, and you have a moment where you think, you know what? Church is alright, but I want to go and do my own thing for a bit. Church has rules and regulations, which are not bad, because without rules and regulation, we'd have anarchy in society. Alright, true. So, I left church at a young age, went out on the road, got into a drug lifestyle, ended up in prison, long story cut short, which we'll talk more about. It was when I was in prison, I was in my cell, and I kind of looked at my life, and I looked at where I come from, and I thought, you know what? This is not really the right way for me. I feel like God's got more for me than sitting behind a metal door and giving someone a wage. So, I said, God, if you give me a voice to sing, when I get out...
And trust me, you couldn't sing before.
I could not sing. I could not sing.
He could not sing. He always wanted to sing and always tried, but he couldn't sing before.
Before there was no singing, no.
No. It was croaking. It was croaking.
It was croaking.
It was
Do
croaking.
you remember the switch, like where you went from not being able to
How
go
old was
black
you
and sing?
when you was sitting yourself thinking about that moment? Like,
I was around 17, 18.
okay, so
Yeah.
you was in your
I was a teenager. Yeah, I was a teenager. You know what I'm saying? I'm there in my cell, and as you know, and I understand, when you go jail and you're behind that door, no matter what you do when you're in association, when you hear that thing go blam, and you lie on your bed and you look at that white ceiling, you think about life.
You definitely do.
And what happens? You have scenes of the GBU. You think of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
come on.
You literally GBU it, yeah?
Yeah.
And when you see the G and you see the B and the U, then you realise, well, really, why am I in the B and U when I should be in the G? But you see, there's no G, right, God? Alright, good. So, so in myself,
Spreading the word.
But I'm going in because that's how you win. Alright, so I'm in myself, and it's coming like I'm in hell. Yeah?
Yeah.
And then my brain is starting to swell. So then I'm saying, if I want it to be well, then I'm going to have to go from the BU to the G. Yeah? So I ain't talking about the G on the ends, the G that made the ends. Yeah, the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
Which is God. So in my soul I said, God, if you give me a voice to sing, I'll give you my life, and when I go back out, I'm going to come off the road and I'm going to just start to sing. So that's where my journey started. I don't have the story where people said, oh, you know, I went to church, my granddad put me in a choir, and that's not how I started. I started in a very, very bad and rough place. And it was a rough place, but it was a right place for me to start, because I think now I appreciate life differently, because sometimes you don't understand the value of good till you go through bad. Yeah. So from there, you know, I left church and I went back into church, started singing, and all the awards and that came after. But I understand the power of the bad and the ugly. That's where I met God, in the bad and the ugly.
Okay.
So you got any questions like inside of that?
That was like deep. I must understand like that, because you left church and then you went back to church still within a young age. some people would probably ride it out and not even be thinking about God, or be thinking about life expectations. When I went there when I was 17, I was wounded, but within a year, I'm weighing up, I've still got like another sentence in me to go and hit the road back, and that was my mentality. And I went back on the road soon as I got my car.
For me was,
and I was never a hustler from birth. I just fell into it, and that was it. I just ran with it.
Yeah. I tell you what it was this is what it was for me.
And I went to the and I went Bible studies, and I was like, tell me, I disrespected him. Yo, take me back to myself. I don't want to hear this. I disrespected him. I used to go to church, and I said, we're all going to church just to chat. I'm not coming back down here again.
But you know what? No, I get you. But hear what? You see, today now, I go into jail and we help run the church. So if you had to come into our service, you would never have dissed us. You know why? Because we're talking your language.
Yeah.
These times now they're talking thee, thou, thou, and blah blah blah. It's not in a language that's relevant, and it doesn't matter how true something is. If you don't understand it, it's not true to you. It's not true, you know. It's not true to you because you can't understand it.
Can't relate to it.
You can't relate. So the way it's delivered, it's like some people say, well, I don't like chicken. You give them jerk chicken, they like it. You give them fried, they don't like. Oh, it's still chicken, ain't it? Right. So it's how you give it over.
Yeah.
The reason why I changed at that moment, because for me, tomorrow's not promised. Tomorrow. That makes more sense now in a COVID situation than them times there. But I saw certain things then where people just wake up, go sleep, and don't wake up. I lost my sister when I was 12 and she was 16 and she was my best friend. And I lost my sister very, very suddenly.
So to hear that.
Yeah, so I understand that it doesn't matter how gifted you are, how strong, how much testosterone, you can go sleep and don't wake up and that's it. So when I came out, I realised that this is an opportunity for me to fulfil my destiny.
Yeah.
When my mum pushed me out, I came out alone, and when I die, they're going to carry me alone. So I had to make decisions for myself. So I said, rather than me go back on the ends and do whatever, I moved off the ends. I went to a far part away, and I started all over again. Not because I'm perfect, but because I realised I've only got one chance, and I'm not going to waste it.
And if you thought you stuck around, you weren't going to change.
If I stayed on the ends, I know what I was going to do because I don't do things by halves. I'm not a 50, I'm not a 90,
I feel like that's easier said than done though. Like some people maybe want a fresh start.
I agree.
Maybe from the ends, innit? Shit's not that easy.
Some people, don't get a chance.
You know what I mean?
But do you know why?
Is that
because you see, when you come up in like a gang culture, you're made to think that you're just a link in the chain. But I want to understand that every link is a link. I'm going to say it to you one more time. Let me say it one more time. When you come up in a gang culture, you're made to feel like you're just a link in the chain. But what the link, I understand that the link is a link by itself. In other words, you are fasting like that by yourself. A link is made to make a circle by itself. You're not broken.
You're strong on your own.
Right, but you seem to think you have to connect to another link to be strong. That's not the way it goes.
Let me give you an illustration what he's saying.
Make them know.
In the real life.
Right, this is a chain, yeah? All of these have separate links.
Get a priest.
Yeah? All of these have separate links. Now, nobody would never know, but I've got a bracelet linked to a chain. Now, watch this.
Lit.
If I take that off,
Right? Come again.
Lit.
and I take that off, this stands by itself.
Right, good.
It's got its own identity.
Okay.
It's a bracelet.
Right.
There's the chain. But I can link to that chain to make it even bigger. But what he decided was no, I'm going to unlink and I'm going to become my own identity, which is the bracelet by itself.
Right.
There you go.
That's it.
And so I do understand what you're saying, and I can relate. It's true. Like how I got into that lifestyle was because I did want to be in with the crowd, and I did want to blah blah blah. But what I realised was when I got locked up, nobody was doing my bird with me.
Yeah, what was your turning point? Like,
in jail straight. When I got locked up, nobody was come to look for me. Nobody was there. You get that person will send a little money, blah blah blah. But the real life, in a real life, is that you're going in on your own. And let me tell you, you're not on your own because your family is doing your bird. Your children are doing your bird. Your girl is doing your bird. But you one are sitting in that cell. So I thought, well then, if no one's looking for me, then I don't need to be getting jail for someone else.
Stop right there.
But not everybody think about
and the same people that he just said, you're not doing it by yourself. You're doing it by yourself. Your family's doing it. And guess what? You see these same links? They're looking to go with your gal. while you're in church.
That way.
In real life.
In a real life. But they're meant to be your homies.
So
100%.
Yo.
1,000%.
And so it is hard, and again, I tap into what you're saying. You know what? If you've been shaped to think that you have to blah blah blah, you will. But the thing is, this is conversation like this that will make you know that maybe you should think again. Maybe then, when your mum had you, you was actually born on your own, and when you went to school, you walked on your own, and when you came over, and there's certain things you go through on your own. So then, if I made it and I survived, it can't be for me to be in a link that's going to destroy me. Yes, brother.
But do you feel like the times are harder now than was
I want to hear some advice.
Or was it ever back then?
I'll tell you what I was serious.
Go deep with them.
Yeah.
Was your ever serious?
It was serious. It was serious.
Let them know.
It was serious.
Option to break free.
Now I'm gonna tell you the truth, yeah. Times were very, very serious in our times, yeah. I used to smoke crack every day. I used to smoke crack every day, yeah. I went down to 9.5 stones. I want to understand. I'm 6'1". Yeah, I'm 6'1". And I went down to 9.5 stones, yeah, which is like a bag of chicken, yeah? So you need to understand. So what I'm trying to tell you is that drugs was bad then, drugs is bad now. If anything, there's more awareness about drugs and damage now. There's more awareness about mental health now.
Not in our time.
We didn't have that.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like now, if you really want to get yourself together, you really can, because we didn't have the internet. There was no social media. There was no Google. Yeah, there's a lot more support. But the pressure is greater now. But let me tell you what I believe. I don't believe that God will allow you to go through more than what you can bear. When the pressure's greater, there's a way out that's greater, but you've got to be looking for the way out. Some people be like, oh, I fell over. Yeah, but you wasn't looking, you was walking.
But you don't always have to. Do you think you always have to use God to find your way out? Or
This is what I would say. I believe that you can make your own way, because the Bible said there's a way that seems right unto a man, but the end will lead to destruction. So I believe you can make your own way. But let me tell you this. I believe that if you've got a bimmer, you better go to the bimmer manufacturer to get the right parts. That's what I believe. I believe you go to the creator. That's what I believe. Because I believe you can't even see, like, if I can't see around the corner right now, can I? But God is everywhere, so He can. So why wouldn't I go to the one that can see the future? So for me, I'm not trying to wait to lick my head and kin over around the corner when I know with the help of God I can be navigated and not bump into certain things. And let me tell you something. I made some mistakes along my journey where I did not listen to God. Yeah, and that's why I ended up where I ended up.
Well, at that 17-year-old, did you become a believer then, or later on, the journey after coming out of jail?
Should I give you some real talk? I was always a believer, but just not a practicer. Catch it again. Catch it again. Yeah. The belief
is me, you know.
How you mean?
Bro, like,
you know there's a God. I was a believer.
I haven't been churching them, but I respect that, and I agree with everything you're saying.
Any man who's telling me it's not a God, I have to ask him what kind of food is he eating. No, if you're telling me, yeah, you can't look at the stars, the moon, you're going to tell me it's a big bang. Who made the bang bang? No, I want to know. Come on, who made the bang bang? Yeah, so I'm saying we all know that there is a higher power. We know that. But you have to get to a place where you go beyond saying higher power. The judge in the court is a higher power. There's got to be, he must have a name. He must have an identity. So for me, when I was them times there, I was a believer, but I wasn't following the way. So believer wasn't the problem. But I knew it's going to cost me to follow God, because I can't follow a righteous God and live like a madman.
No, you can't.
Yeah, and I wanted to be mad. Let me just tell you, I'm not trying to sit here and be like, I'm telling you now. Yeah. Let me tell you something.
In that era where you're in that moment, so you're just gonna live the moment. With the rest of
and you know the
rest of the links.
We used to go. We're in the link. We used to go to dance. We used to mash up the dance, make noise, bust bottles. We'd kidnap people, beat people, rob people. I'm telling you what we used to do. Every Friday night it was terror on the road. Let me tell you, them what was worse than me. This one,
so they woman, this one say,
yeah, no, I kind of don't know, but I kind of know, like,
you guys are gonna show them that.
But you see, it's real life.
Well, London's, I feel like.
You ain't got nothing on London.
London's a lot. London's like,
don't try to disrespect London still.
London is serious. Everywhere's serious.
More people, more things.
Back in the day, it's a lot more about London.
Yeah, it's a capital.
Everyone come from Jamaica, Africa, overseas, London.
Yeah.
And it's the capital,
so
just like Kingston, Jamaica, or Paris, France. It's the capital. So it's not really the people, you know. It's the atmosphere of the capital. That's where the hub is. And so things were a lot more intense. We used to be up and down, and blah blah blah. But I look back now, and I thank God.
I don't know how I'm alive.
That I'm alive, and I mean that. I thank God, and I say with all humility, I don't take it for granted. I thank God that I'm still alive. Let me tell you what happened to me last year around October. So what I normally do, like, before the pandemic, we go to prisons, we get into prison, we do services. I went into a prison. Now, bearing in mind, I went to jail 27 years ago. I went into a jail and saw a man that I was banged up with 27 years ago.
Yeah, that is
and the man is still in jail.
Nah,
Now, understand me? Yeah?
Yeah, that's what I was. I'm not gonna say I've seen that, but on my last sentence, I was like,
I bumped into a few, but yeah, you like what?
Somebody
He's still there.
60s, and I think, yeah, you're somebody's granddad and great. I'm out. Like,
It's
I
mad.
can't live that life.
Can I tell you another madness? I'm gonna give it to you now, I've said enough. I went into a jail and I saw a man and his son in the same jail.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to tell you, yeah,
Imagine that.
these are cycles that if you don't break it in your generation, if you don't put your foot down and say, I'm gonna come up the road and make it, yeah, you are opening the door for your son to walk it or your daughter. And if your son goes jail, and then your daughter's on the road, you're leaving your daughter in the hands of a shark on the road because you won't put your foot down and block the cycle. So when you're saying it's hard to come out, it's because you're thinking in the moment. But the minute you start to say, I've got a future.
How did we come to being on the road?
Listen, let's be true.
I don't believe
Because
that.
our parents, some kids are just. My parents brought me up. There was no road in me until I just fell into it.
Yeah, like you said, same way. I was working in church house. It's bad, isn't it?
My mum didn't have to beat me down from a certain age. I was calm.
I didn't need I just wanted 110s and these other things.
It's inevitable when you're born in separate places. It is next to inevitable.
But then I also believe.
But it's not though. We can't use that as an excuse. You know what I'm saying?
You could see a bad man and your brother or sister goes and.
It's possible.
It's possible.
I didn't say it's inevitable. I said it's next to inevitable.
I get you. I think again as well. Again, it's like okay. We talk about diamonds made in the rough, diamonds coming from a hard place. I think people can go through the same thing and I believe they can come out different. And what I believe we have to look for, try to look for the good in a bad situation. Like everyone can say, well, this is why I am the way I am. And then someone will say, I went for the same thing and it made me a better person. So I think it's a lot to do with the way that a person's mind is shaped. Also how we see ourselves. Yeah.
And how you see your future, yeah.
Yeah, and how do you see your future? Can I aspire? Like some people say, oh man, I never get things right. I'm so stupid. I'm saying, but you're telling yourself that you're stupid. Whereas another person's like, don't call me stupid. You think I'm a fool? I ain't a fool. You're a fool. I'm not a fool. So it's a lot to do with how you feel about yourself. And that's why, again, I believe that a relationship with God helps to define who you are. Because now it's the voice of your father telling you who you are. Because the problem is in our community is a lack of fathers or a lack of father figures. In many cases, not all, in many cases, a lot of our black fathers were not around in the way that I should. Now hear me, I know people that had both parents in the house but the father still wasn't there. They're not speaking into the heart of their son. They're not addressing certain issues. They're not seeing pride in the son and saying, son, be humble. Son, slow down, you're gifted, but just take time. Alright, then I always say to a man, if you're selling drugs, you can be a businessman. It's simple as that. You can count money, you can run a business, but you're saying you want to do, I want to make my money quick, but then easy come?
Easy go.
Alright then, so I'm saying then, are you thinking about the future? No, because you want to get it quick, but it's not going to stay long.
Unless you got an out plan, then you're nice, but some man don't have an out plan.
Basically,
I know what out plan is.
Make some change, knowing that, yeah, I'm going to get out when I get to a certain range and I'm good.
Was the only problem with the out plan is this.
Can that karma from all the bad is going to sort of.
What I would say to you, I won't use the word karma, and I'll tell you why. Because karma says that every single deed you do, you have to pay for it.
Which is not true.
Because the Bible says that God is so good that He doesn't pay us according to every sin that we do. Because if He paid us for every sin, nobody would be alive. So God is so gracious that if He was to get everything we did wrong and put back on us, every one of us in this room would be dead. So what He does, He looks, He says, you know what? Alright then, that was wrong, but I'm going to give you mercy. Karma says you pay for every single thing, so I don't believe in karma. But what I am going to say is, if you keep on sowing lemon seeds, you can't get strawberries. Yeah? So you got an out plan because you've done something for 10 years and in my 11th year, that's why certain men get out planned and they just drop down. And you're like, how did he drop down like that?
Yeah, he's just getting out.
Because you sowed a bad seed for 10 years, so you can't reap good now. But you had the right intention, but the wrong seed.
There you go.
So, right intention, but wrong seed.
Just before we get into my room, so sorry, go.
No, carry on.
No, come back to wrap up his little bit of the introduction. So you should miss it.
But that was just like, it's just in man. That's what man do. You know what you say when you just explain. That's what guys do. Guys think they've got an out plan. I might try to set one in plan.
But like my mum always told me, and my family always say, we always want to do something. It's gonna take you further than you have to. I want this, and he's gonna no, I want more. You know what I'm saying? Nah, this ain't enough for me, I need a little bit more. So it's going to take you further than you have to, you know what I'm
It's
saying?
the hype, it's the adrenaline that you're getting from it that keeps you in it.
And Reese, brother, it's easier to do
I
wrong.
knew I had an art plan. Well, not art plan, but
It's
I knew.
easy. Yeah, it's easier
One
to
day,
do wrong. Though,
and
isn't
I
it?
forget a job. Like, and I knew that from youth, man.
And you
That's
have
why
done it.
I was sitting in jails at 17 saying, I got another bird in me.
Yeah.
And I know.
Well, you had the end goal. You had the end.
I had an end goal, but if I get locked up for 5 and do half of that, I'm still in my 20s, low 20s.
Breaking it down in your head,
I can break free. I can break out and change my life because I'm still within the under 30.
Yeah.
I don't want to get to 30
to go back to
and be like, yo, I'm struggling to find my feet because I've left it so long, or I've just left myself in the
I just feel like now the way people need to think is this, that we don't know if we're getting to 30, we don't know if we're getting to 29. COVID is licking down people like mosquito. We just don't know. We actually don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, people need to just think, you know what? How can I kind of navigate my life in the best way possible in the moment now and work with it now? That's how I feel.
So for those people that are watching now, maybe there's some people that were in the position that you was in.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice that you'd like to say to them people that was maybe
i.e. doing that, either could be out on the roads trying to get out, or
I do want to change the life. I do want to turn around. But where did they go? How did they go about it?
I think first of all you have to you see, if you don't know your identity, you don't know where you should be. You have to know who you really are. Like, I don't look at people wearing designer labels and say that you're done because you're just wearing a piece of clothes with a piece of stitch in it.
That's right.
That don't tell me who you are.
Yeah.
What you drive don't tell me who you are.
That's right.
Where you live don't tell me that. That's a man-made thing. The real
Sorry, would you mind just grabbing that?
Yeah, thanks, love.
Sorry.
You see, the real you, you're a spirit in a human body and you've got a mind. There are 3 parts to you. And you're going to say to me, well, nah, it's just me one. But no, that's why you could be sitting here and your mind could be thinking something else.
Yeah, but some people don't believe in some people. I feel like some people have a belief in God, but don't want to put the whole believe in God.
Yeah, I'll say like I feel like I don't believe in nothing. I've never like looked like towards God or I've never been church. Like, I don't know, it's just the way I am. I've just never. So yeah,
I get it.
But I do respect it a lot, and I ask these questions because I do want to listen. I do want to understand your way of life and like your perspective of things, and yeah, maybe one day, who knows? I could even think that all in that I want to.
You see, someone like you will get to your point. You know, I know that because you already have the awareness, and awareness is this. I know
most definitely.
In other words, and you can't know there's a God without a God making you know that there's a God. Because how can you know something that's invisible is visible? So you've never seen God, but in your heart you say, but I know there's a God, so how do you think you knew that? God has allowed you to know that there's a God, so therefore He has given you a seed for you to water, for you to get the tree of your relationship with Him. So that it starts with a seed, and if you water it, it becomes a tree. So what I would say to someone watching, if you know there's a God, then ask yourself the next question, then shouldn't I be looking for this God? I look for gal, I look for car, I look for paper, I look for the plan. Why would you look for those things that can all pass away in 1 second when with God it's eternal? So start with the cause, and that's why I said that your spirit, soul and body. Yeah, we need to live, we need a house, we need a car, but start from the inside out. Because when you go to sleep and your body's shut down, how many times have you been in your sleep and you're sleeping but you feel like you're fighting something? You ever felt that before? You never been in your sleep and you can feel like something's holding you down? You never had that?
No, I know exactly what you're on about.
Right, so what I'm saying,
like sleep paralysis.
So they say, but let me tell you this. That thing is so.
I've never experienced that.
That thing is so real, yeah. That your body's sleeping, yet you are so awake and alert, and you're trying to move, but you can't move. So if you're sleeping, so guess what?
I'm trying to get up, and I'm like, yo.
But then, so what's answer me this then?
I'll panic.
Right. But how can you
to sleep to try to see if I can wake back up?
What's?
I just come thinking,
Guess what? When you're lying there, eyes shut, you're saying you can't move. If your body's sleeping, how could you be telling yourself you can't move? Which proves you have a spirit. Because if your body was sleeping and it's your brain, when you're sleeping your brain's dead. Your brain's not active. So how are you then having a conversation to say I can't move? Which proves my point. You are spirit, soul and body. So then get back to my point. Find the person that gave you a spirit. You got a car. No fuel in the car can't move. Start talking to God and say, God, if you're real, show me the way you want me to go. Lord, I don't understand what tomorrow's going to bring. I'm not perfect. You're the only perfect one. Just speak to me. Just have little conversation with God. Pray to God every day, and I promise you, you will see God will start to navigate your path. I always say to people, why is it that only when it hits the fan we say, oh God, if you don't help me? Why is it when stuff goes wrong, that's when we're going to pray?
I know you pray for God, but then you think at the same time it's your family that give you the same amount of support along your journey that you're on.
God would always put good people in your life.
And do you put God on the same level, or do you put?
Nah, he's above. He's the Most High. God is above family. Like I said, when I was doing my bird, there was no one in the cell with me but God. Who gave me my voice to sing? Not my mum and dad. God. Every gift I've got, it comes from God.
Yeah, because you prayed for the voice.
Yeah, and he heard. And I tell you something,
you get yourself that, like, that's your own person. You've been brought into sort of.
You think like God gave it, but really, humanity in you, but you just never experienced.
Well then, even if it was there in seed form, he allowed me to be in the ground of a prison cell which watered it to make it come out, so I still put it back to God. He allowed my path to go that way. I still put it back to God. Every good and perfect gift comes from above. You see,
yeah, all your passing is to God, no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what you say.
No matter what I say.
Yeah, it's just boom.
That's me. That's my perspective.
Yeah.
That might happen.
Yeah, but no matter what, it's just this way it's coming back to that.
You see, for me, it's a humility thing, because I know I can go sleep tonight. Let me tell you something, we can make this video and I can die this year, and then you will watch this and say, geez, he said that. I can die this year because your gift and your talent won't keep you. God forbid, wonderful, but that's the reality of life. That giftedness, talentness, strength doesn't keep you alive. God gives you a start date and a finish date, and that's why for me, I'm mindful. I always put it back to God, because once I go to sleep, my destiny is not in my hands, it's in the hands of God. I don't know if I'm going to wake up again. I don't know how much longer I've got. Only God, in my perspective.
So you think someone who dies in their 20s is that God's given that span?
Was that scripture? Was that already?
I'll give you two scenarios. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it says this. It says, why die before your time? Yeah? So that tells me then, there's a time to be born, which some people are born late, but that's their time. But there's a time to die. You're never going to die late, but you can die early. Yeah? In other words, if I try to walk on the engine and rob everybody here and say no one can't kill me, you know what's going to happen, don't you?
Someone's going to try to kill you.
Yeah, but guess what? It wasn't your time. You just thought you could rob everyone, so you just reap what you sowed.
Yeah.
You live wisdom. You live a wise life. Wisdom is the key of life. It tells you that. Yeah? But what you can't do is make yourself live beyond your date. So I believe everyone has a start date, and I believe everyone has an end date, and God gives us that gap in between to use our time wisely.
Okay.
So yeah. That was a brief insight by Isaiah.
Listen.
Yeah, and don't you think it's fitting that he should end by singing?
Yeah, I can put that's what I said.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah. Come on the show and try and get out that. Yeah, you're gonna get to that. Okay. I thought that.
What I do want to add is, I was going through your Instagram earlier before you came, and I was seeing, like you said, like 48. Am I right? Yeah, 48. So it's like, good on you. You can use social media. I mean, I know a lot of like plus 40s that can't open their iPhone. You know what I mean? Good on you, and you're doing a good job, innit? Get me?
My mindset is this year: you can't reach people if you can't teach people. You have to engage people and connect with people. Use the social media.
Is there a reason why it's locked, even though you got a message to give? Your
that's
locked.
a good question.
Yeah.
Unless someone adds you,
it will be open very soon. My Facebook was locked. It's open. It will be open very soon. Yeah, it will be open very soon.
Is there a reason that you could elaborate on and tell us why? Like, why is it locked?
My reason is locked as well as the page being locked.
Yeah, fair enough.
No problem. No problem.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
So
something inside so strong. They said I could not make it. Though all my life it went wrong. They thought that my pride was gone. No, but Jesus inside makes me strong. Jesus inside makes me strong. Jesus.